where there's presentations happening for loads of our sisters who couldn't be here tonight, but really wanted to find out about this, and we'll be sharing that. But the parts where you'll ask questions and share, we can turn the recording off. The way that we support women is through training and coaching online. We have self-led resources and overall a sense of community. So our main message for you to take away from tonight, if nothing else, is that we're here for you. This is why we exist. We have support for candidates, and that is these live sessions. We've got 2 a month from now until the elections next year, already scheduled. Between now and December, we've already got our programme lined up. And I had a slide to share, but I'm having slight tech issues, but I will put all of the dates in the chat. You'll also, because you've all got the dial-in details for this, we know you're on our system as standing as a candidate, so we will give you emails about each one, so you've got them in your diary and you can get back in the room. We're covering things like public speaking, organising your campaign, and how to do online campaigning between now and Christmas. There are themes. So if I move on to think about, oh, and just, sorry, there are themes of the sessions. The other key part of the support that we offer is our Kajabi platform. Kajabi is an app. You can search for it on your phone and download it. And through that, you can access self-led training. You'll all have automatically been given access to this, and it might just be you don't know that it's there. Anyone can message us to find out support. Maybe, Annabelle, you could put the community email in the chat. If anyone doesn't know how to do this, we're here for you. And it's so good that I'm actually just going to take 1 second and share my screen with you so you can see this. So again, I'm presenting and doing tech support, so you have to just bear with me. I do that, and then I'm going to be able to do such questions. See, I'm a human too. Let's see if this works. Okay, and then if I press preview. So maybe you can ping us in the chat. Did you know you had access to this? Have you seen it before? This is Equip Her Candidate Support. Orientation explains what it is, how to use it. Campaign in a box. It'll look a bit different if you're on your phone, but not that different. These are each chapter that you want to work through. Who's your dream team? How do you develop your team? What kind of positions might you need in place? Where's your HQ? And then lower down this section, you're going to be so interested in this. Planning your finances, working out the budget, and then how to build a fundraising campaign, how to go out with it, and then your story, kind of how do you brand yourself. And then we move on to the practical stuff that you'll probably need after Christmas: door knocking, telephone canvassing, leaflets. So each one of these, so I've used it so much that it's really familiar to me. So if I click on this fundraising one, it opens a whole page with copy, tasks. Some of them have downloadable like templates you can use. You might have this from your party, in which case, lucky you. You might not, in which case, use this. So this is here for anyone who needs it. We also have some recordings from previous training we've done. Like, again, we're really human. We're doing this on a shoestring. They're not glossy, but they are recordings of really high level people with a lot of experience in this, sharing what they know. And then if you've hardly got any time, we've literally got this part of the course that's just top tips. You also, with this program, get access to this digital self-defense and self-care. That's how to set up all your profiles online, so you're not going to face as much abuse, what to do if you do face abuse, how to block people, all that kind of stuff. This is like free. We share it because we want you to know that it's there. It's information we've gathered over the years, and we think all women need it, and we're developing it. So if you find holes in it, please tell us. Okay, finance. Let's talk about money. So, introduction to finance candidates. So we really wanted to just take a minute to talk about this because women have less access to finance throughout our life courses, and this compounds over time. We also know that the cost of living crisis has hit women harder. Women have less well-paid roles and less income month to month, less savings, and less networks to be able to access funds and wealth. So the likelihood of women having available funds to support themselves in times of hardship or retirement or to run political campaigns is an issue across the board for most women. And we're not just talking about women from low income groups. What it takes to pause paying your mortgage or find workarounds is a problem regardless of the size of your mortgage. And these are issues before you add in dimensions of race and disability around women from those groups accessing finance face even more greater barriers. So women are time poor compared to men due to competing volumes of caring and domestic duties. Research shows it. We also probably all personally know that it's true. So before we think about candidacy, I think we need to be really clear about there are a lot of things in the way that can make being a candidate challenging for women and where money can make a difference. And so when it comes to candidacy, it's a really time pressured time where it's expensive and public facing. And we want to name that these are some of the things that may come into play for you. So campaigning costs money. Women can only stand for election if we can afford it. And the many financial barriers women face to participating in democracy, like it's a political issue and it's an equalities issue, and it's one that we don't want to sweep under the carpet. That aside, there is support and it is still worth doing, but we don't want you to go in blind. What we've also found is that women have really varied knowledge about finance when they stand for election. And one of the candidates we worked with last year after the election phoned us up and was really shocked because she had assumed that the Electoral Commission would reimburse her for all of her expenses when she submitted them, and it was news to her that that didn't happen. So this is a warning or information session to you, starting from the very basic level. You need to pay for your campaign, whatever level you're campaigning at. The Electoral Commission will not pay for that. The campaign needs to be paid for either out of your own funds or out of fundraised funds, and probably it's a combination of both. And the scale of those funds will vary dramatically depending on the type of election and where you're standing. So number one, you need a plan. And to do that plan, use the campaign in a box because it talks you through it, at least in some detail. Work out your campaign budget and your spending limit. Like the spending limit is an official thing. You probably know this already, that you can calculate by the number of electors in your area. It's a fixed thing, and you hopefully will have someone that will work through with you to make sure that you're doing everything by the book. Work with your agent is one of the points that I have. They should be your friend, and you need good ways of working, and it's really good if you can get that in place sooner rather than later. You need to keep your personal funds and your campaign funds separate. And so although we're not in the short campaign period now, where spending is tightly monitored, anything you're fundraising now for your campaign and anything you're spending should be separate. It helps you and it helps the Electoral Commission part as well. You need to start to understand the difference between campaign expenses and personal expenses. So campaign expenses will be things like leaflets, maybe travel to campaigning events or days, whereas personal expenses would be like the food you eat on the go or having to pay for childcare so you can go out and campaign. And the way you record those and the limits for those will differ. You need to keep all of your receipts and you need to do the paperwork. So that's my in a nutshell list. 6 years ago, in an attempt to support women with some of those personal costs that people were facing around not having a laptop or struggling with the costs of having someone replace their caring role in the family so they could run a campaign, the cost of a new battery for a wheelchair to be able to go and do door knocking, some of those like personal campaign expenses that were not being covered by the party. 6 years ago, I set up a fund to help women from underrepresented backgrounds with those additional costs. So that's Fund Her. That's our small, very small, humble grants program that we run from Elect Her for women from underrepresented groups primarily, but women who are facing financial costs to participating in democracy. So we cover, let me just see if I can share this, because oh, I don't know why it wants to play your music. Is it just going to do it again? If you just give me a second. These are some of the costs that we help women with. Present, if I press present, it's probably just going to do it again. June. Costs for childcare and other commitments, attending networking events to boost your profile, travel and subsistence for yourself and your volunteers, technology for online meetings, taking time off work to campaign, disability and access related costs, and clothing, and sort of the cost of looking great as a woman is an additional cost that women face. Whether or not you apply for Fund Her or are a grantee, I think this is a useful list of costs that you might not have thought of that could surround your campaign. Have I stopped sharing? Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, that was great.
So I think I've just got one more slide to show myself that I can tell you from, which is to say that so hopefully that's given you an overview of the work we do, the support we can offer you, some of the things about finance you want to just be thinking a very initial stage. Obviously, we could have a lot more discussion about those, and a bit about Fund Her and the costs it covers. Fund Her, I should say, we have supported 69 candidates since 2020, when we first started, with about £60,000. We supported 21 women running in the 2024 elections as MPs, and we are opening the fund again for applications before Christmas. So in this autumn period, we'll open again. If we will send everyone who's marked as a candidate on our list information about that. I imagine it will be between 10 and 20 grants of probably around £500. If we manage to get a bit more, we'll go higher, because we know every bit matters, and that it really matters which level of election you're standing at. But obviously we're kind of limited by the money we have. And we'll make sure you find out about that. However, there are government-funded support in recognition of some of the costs that some candidates face. And we've got some fab folk here to share about that. So I'm going to hand it over now to... Should we hear about the fund in Scotland first?
To
talk about women, yeah?
Yeah, I'm Kat. I am not from Scotland. I'm from Disability Wales. But Ellen, who does run the fund in Scotland, has asked me to step in for her, and she's written out a piece that I'll read. So that's quite nice. I don't have to do this off the top of my head. Hi everyone, I'm Ellen, and I'm Inclusion Scotland's Access to Elected Office Coordinator, so my whole job is getting more disabled people into politics. Thanks so much for giving me a few minutes today. I'm here to let you know about the Access to Elected Office Fund, which could make a real difference to your journey into elected office. First, a quick word about us. Inclusion Scotland is a disabled people's organisation. That means we're led by disabled people for disabled people. Our mission is to support disabled people to be fully included in all areas of Scottish life, including civic and political participation. We believe disabled people should be at the heart of decision making, not just consulted, but elected. That's where the Access to Elected Office Fund comes in. It exists to level the playing field for disabled people who are standing for election. Running for office isn't a fair fight when disabled candidates have to cover extra costs to just to participate equally. So this fund steps in to remove the barriers. The importance of this support has now been recognised in law, and in Section 46 of the Scottish Elections Representation and Reform Act 2025. The Access to Elected Office Fund was enshrined in legislation ensuring that disabled people in Scotland will continue to have access to this vital resource when standing for election. What does the fund support? We cover disability-related costs that you face because you're running for elected office. This could include a British Sign Language interpreter, a personal assistant or support worker, accessible transport or accommodation, assisted technology like screen readers or voice-to-text software, speech-to-text reporter or communication support, a support person to help with things like reading documents, writing social media posts, or managing stress with workload. Basically, if it's a cost you're facing because of your disability and because you're standing for election, the fund can likely help. This means we can't cover campaign costs that every candidate would face, or those that are not related to being disabled, for example, posters, adverts, or travel unrelated to your access needs. But this is important. A lot of people assume they won't be eligible because they don't see themselves as disabled enough. That's almost never the case. You might be eligible even if you don't think you are. We support a wide range of impairments and access needs, including neurodivergence like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, mental health conditions, sensory impairments, mobility and physical access needs, chronic illness, and fatigue-related conditions, including endometriosis. Some people only need small adjustments like support with time management, sensory-friendly environments, or help understanding complex documents. Others may need daily assistance during the campaign. There's no one way to use the fund. It's all about what you need to campaign on a level playing field. And then how to apply. To be eligible, you need to identify as a disabled person, be a candidate in an upcoming election in Scotland. The application is simple. We'll ask about your access needs, what election you're standing in, and what kind of support you require. You don't need to know all the answers up front, and we can work with you to build a support plan that fits your campaign. To apply, ask us questions, just email civic participation at inclusionscotland.org. Politics in Scotland needs to reflect the diversity of the country, and that means disabled women and non-binary people need to be visible, vocal, and elected. We know the barriers are real, but with the right support, they can be removed. If you're running for office and face additional barriers because of your disability, the Access to Elected Office Fund is here for you. Thank you, and she says she'll be around after this to chat, but she won't. So if you do have any questions, email her. And I'll introduce myself properly now that I've done Ellen's bit. I'm Kat Watkins, and I run the Access to Politics project at Disability Wales, which is different to Access to Elected Office Fund. So basically, my role is trying to change the political parties so that they become more accessible. So at the minute, I'm with Grassroots Network of Disabled People, writing a charter that will inform political parties in Wales how they can make things more accessible. We're then going to go on to writing a toolkit to basically tell members that are standing for election what they should do, how they should do it. It's all written by disabled people, so anything that the political parties don't like, well, they should have thought of it to begin with. So, um, the document that has been written so far is 32 pages, and not sure the political parties are going to like it, but hey, whatever. If they if they'd done it in the first place, we wouldn't have had to write it. And in the grassroots network, we also run like little meetings every so often with training, and so next week we're doing stuff on the social model of disability and disability equality training. And we've got the Cabinet Secretary for Local Government and Housing, Jane Bryant, coming, so that she's going to give an overview of how she got in to the Senedd and became an MS. It's really nice having a woman support us like that, you know, to give us the backing. Um, she has been very supportive as she helped launch this project on International Day of Disabled People in the Senedd, so that was quite nice. I shall hand you over to my colleague, Jessica.
Thank you, Kat. I'm Jessica, or Jess. Jessica sounds very formal, so yeah, please call me Jess. I've been in post for exactly a week, so this is very new to me, but my role is sort of alongside Kat, very similar to what Ellen is doing in Scotland. So I will be recruiting a panel, first of all, to make decisions about the access to elected office funds in Wales, so that people can get the additional support that they need. Just bear with me a moment while I bring up some notes, because I didn't prepare a presentation, or so I just want to make sure that I give you as much information as possible. Basically, Wales made history in 2020 as the first nation in the UK to launch a fund like this at community council level, reinforcing a commitment to inclusive representative democracy. So the fund will ensure that disabled people can engage fully in the political process on an equal footing with non-disabled candidates. One of the most important things about this fund is that it is non-partisan, so it's open to candidates standing for a political party or as an independent candidate. And it, as Kat explained on behalf of Ellen, we work in accordance with the social model of disability. So applicants are not required to provide medical evidence of an impairment, but are instead asked to describe the barriers that they face, what adjustments they require, and how they would use those adjustments in their election campaign. And we don't expect someone just to know that off the top of their head. We can help with that process by asking questions, or them asking us questions, and hopefully finding out the right answers. I'm one of these people that if I don't know the answer to the question, I will go away and keep looking until I find the answer. So there is no question that is daft or stupid or silly or whatever word you want to use. If it's a question and it's something that needs answering, it can be asked and we can hopefully find a solution between us. And as Kat explained, the fund can be used for BSL interpreters, a personal assistant to help with canvassing, personal assistant to accompany to meetings, basically anything that has an impact because of someone's impairment. The fund can help to hopefully remove that barrier, and hopefully the end result will be increased participation in the Senate elections, but particularly with the change in the number of representatives and the voting system, and yeah, at local council level as well. So I hope I've done a good job of covering that, given that I've been in post for an entire week. Yay! But if anybody has any questions, the email for the fund is electedofficefund@disabilitywales.org, and I will put that in the chat now. Or if anybody knows anybody that might be interested in helping on the decision-making panel as well, we need some people who might not necessarily want to be a candidate, but might be interested in supporting in that sort of way as well. So both of those are strands of my job at the moment. So thank you very much for letting me be here.
Yay, Jess, it's really nice to meet you. Thanks for sharing about that. And I think that might be something we could promote to our community. I think some folk might be interested in that. So maybe we can pick that up too. I'm going to just say a brief minute, because there's not loads to say, about the Access to Elected Office Fund in England before we move on to kind of more informal discussion and questions and answers. So the two funds we've just talked about, the Access to Elected Office Fund in Scotland and in Wales, they're both for disabled candidates to cover the additional costs faced by disabled people while campaigning. Thanks so much for sharing about those. It's really important that they're in place, and the situation in England is more complicated. So I'm going to say this in a nutshell. This is my take on it. This is not the official government take, and I am not a spokesperson, but I'm going to give you the sense of what my understanding is. So like the funds in Scotland and Wales, this is for disabled people to cover the costs faced compared to their non-disabled counterparts. So it's not promising to cover all of the campaign costs, but it will make a difference for people in those groups. It previously was in place in England, but was stopped and started and stopped in a nutshell because it was felt that it wasn't value for money. So my read, if I'm being generous, is that it wasn't having the impact that they hoped in terms of increasing disabled representation, although the picture is very complicated. But following advocacy from another number of organisations, including ourselves, and using the data that we had found from the candidates we'd support with Fund here, because about a third of our grantees have been disabled women, we were able to include some of the sort of anonymised case studies as part of that advocacy work. In June this year, it was announced that the viability of a fund in England would be reconsidered and re-explored. So the Cabinet Office are leading that with a steering group of representatives from disabled organisations and with expertise in that fund. So they're currently doing like a viability study. The fund will not be in place for May 2025, or it seems really unlikely given that they're kind of in the research stage, but it does seem hopeful that some version of a fund could be open for disabled people beyond that. So for those who are disabled and also have...
Sorry, Katie, did you mean May 26? You said May 25.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't mean to jump in, but yeah.
No, that's very important. So it won't be in place for May 26. Yeah, I guess I want to name that there are lots of other costs that people will face and may struggle with that won't be covered by that, whether or not you're disabled and eligible for that. The fund here grants are for a slightly wider group, so you don't have to be disabled to apply, but they are for people who would struggle financially with some of those costs. The eligibility, you can see what we had as the eligibility last year on the website. I think Annabelle's posted it in the chat, but if that is something you're thinking about, but we'll be rewriting all of that and announcing that through the autumn. But yeah, basically there could be more financial support, and in the meantime all we can help you do is try and fundraise and plan for some of those costs as well. Okay, so we've talked a lot and about money and the support that's available. We'd love to hand it over to you. What questions do we have in the room? Maybe we could start with questions. If anyone has questions based on the presentation so far, to Jess or Kat or myself about sort of funds and the finance part, and then we can open it more broadly to wider candidacy challenges and questions after that. You can put your hand up, or you can type a question in the chat if you're feeling a bit shy, but it's nice to hear your voice and see your face if you're up for it.
The only other thing I was just going to add was that we have also spoken to the England team, and there might be potentially some opportunity to feed in some information from our community. So we will also come back to you for that as well. In the meantime, Cara McKee has got her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I don't actually have any questions. Sorry about that. Standard